Hey guys, Jay here. Welcome to Eons of Battle. Soulshackle is out and I got my hands on it. Now, I was looking forward to this box because it is a new Kill Team box and I'm absolutely loving Kill Team, but I was incredibly underwhelmed by the teams represented. Arbites and the Drukhari didn't interest me that much. A human team and an Eldar team, because I already have human teams and Eldar teams, and I was wondering, what on earth is going to be different about these teams to make them fun, exciting, and new? I wasn't looking forward to it, but after giving the rules a read, I am very pleasantly surprised. I think these are going to be some very, very fun teams. Now, if you want a copy of Soulshackle, that might be a little bit tricky because once again, the Kill Team box is sold out almost instantly from Games Workshop's web store. The only way to get a copy is to find one at a friendly local game store, which is what I did. I got this from Valhalla Hobby, a wonderful little game store with a great online store. And if you were planning on picking up any games or miniatures, you can use our code EOB23 to save 5% off your order. I want to go through this book, look at the two teams, give you the highlights, and they might perk your interest or let you know if this box is not for you. First up, we have the Hands of the Archon. This is a 9 operative kill team, 9 dark Eldar. And we've already gotten a 9 Eldar team in the Void Scarred, the piratical Eldar, made up of regular Eldar Harlequins and Drukhari. But this is only Drukhari. They have some wonderful, wonderful tac ops and some special abilities. Their army-wide special ability is called Power from Pain, which if you're a big 40k fan, you might recognize the name of that ability, but here it operates a little bit differently. I think that this particular ability could have been a massive game changer, and I think it still will be, but it won't feel quite as flavorful as it could have. Every single time a Dark Eldar kills another operative, they get a pain token, and that pain token can be spent on a few different abilities, getting to do extra actions, perform a free dash, or you can reroll a dice. Pretty darn good. I think if this was a pool that was created every time you killed something, and then you could spend them however you want, that would have been incredibly powerful and incredibly awesome. The way it works now, the token goes on the guy who performed the killing. And that's pretty good, but I think it's going to be really, really hard to plan for. Is this operative going to be able to kill that and then get the token and then have the ability to do more actions or do a free dash or reroll a dice? It's a little bit hard to plan for, and so it's kind of just going to be a win more ability. If you already are doing a great job, you're going to get an extra token to be able to do a little bit better on the next thing you do, where if it was a pool and everybody had access to it, it could really, really mean something. This guy killed somebody over here, so now this guy has 3 activations and he's gonna go and grab an objective. What I do love about this is it pairs very well with the tac ops. In Kill Team 21, you can score a maximum of 18 victory points during your game, and every faction comes with special tac ops that they can swap in instead of the generic ones, and usually they're either quite a bit better or just kind of but both of the tac ops in this book are actually very, very unique and very flavorful and make the kill team look like it's going to be a lot more fun to play with. For the Drukhari, the Hand of the Archon kill team, my favorite of their tac ops is Pay the Soul Debt. Every time you get one of these Power from Pain tokens, you start a tally. If you end the game with 7, you get 1 victory point, and if you end the game with 9, you get 2. And so it really, really makes you want to kill stuff and get your tokens. There's also another operative who can give you more pain tokens. And so it's not super, super crazy hard to get 7 or 9. It's tricky, but it's not impossible. And I think that is actually a really, really good way for it to be. You don't want it to just be, I just get the victory point. You don't want it to be super easy, and we'll get to some super easy ones in the future, but I really like Pay the Soul Debt. You just put a tally on your board every single time you kill something. I really, really like that ability. And speaking of abilities, also in Kill Team 21, you start out before every single turn, you have the strategic phase where you play strategic ploys, and then during the game you can play tactical ploys. And these are either abilities that buff all of your guys for the turn or one guy for 1 action. And they're really, really fun, and the Dark Eldar have some really, really good ones. Some very thematic, some very recognizable abilities. You got Fleet of Foot. Everybody remembers Fleet of Foot. You can do a free dash. A free dash. These guys are very, very fast. They have some abilities that can make them incredibly fast, and they're gonna need it. With only 9 operatives and some heavy weapons that are a little bit tricky to pull off, Being able to have a free dash, basically 3 activations per turn, is really, really powerful. Also, Blade Artists, you get rending on all of your weapons. All of your close combat weapons. But getting rending on all of your close combat weapons, if you have a turn where you're planning on doing a lot of fighting, can super, super change the game. I really like strategic ploys like this, where it's incredibly simple, easy to keep track of, and it just works. Sometimes strategic ploys are very long to read and very difficult to pull off, but I love those. Simple, easy, to the point. They also have another tactical ploy that I think is gonna really, really make them feel different while you're playing, and it's called From Darkness, Death. At the start of every turn, you can take all of your guys and kind of give them a target. You pick an enemy for that operative who they cannot see, who is not in their line of sight. And if they fight or attack that guy in that turn, you can retain a hit as a critical. Criticals do extra damage, and that is a really interesting and sort of tricky to pull off, but not that tricky. It's really, really interesting. Like, this guy is gonna have to do something to that guy, and I have to decide right now. And your opponent knows too. It's really, really tricky, and it puts this From Darkness Death feeling over the whole game. It just adds a little extra amount of danger for everything on the board. I really, really like that one. It's really gonna change up how you actually play these guys, and that's what I like. I like things to feel really, really different. And I also love a little back and forth with your opponent. And speaking of back and forth with your opponent, some of the special abilities with their Kabalites are amazing. Like the Kabalite Arc Cyberite. When I read this, I lit up. I absolutely love this ability. They have cunning. Actually, this one single operative, your leader, your hero, has cunning. In the strategy phase, which is what I just talked about with those strategic ploys, if you pass on your first opportunity, you get a command point. And command points are those things that you spend to actually use these abilities. So 4 times throughout the game, at the beginning of every single turn, you can play this little mind game with your opponents. Oh, do you want to play any strategic ploys? You know what? I'm gonna pass and get a free point. And that puts your opponent in an interesting spot. They can pass too, and then you've both passed, and then the game begins. And you kind of both lost the opportunity to play your strategic ploys, or your opponent can be like, I guess you get the point, and then I'm gonna play one of my strategic ploys, and then you go back and for your second time, you play your strategic ploys. So the Kabalite player can get the best of both worlds if your opponent plays ball, or if your opponent is forced to play ball, because usually you do want to be spending these strategic ploys every single time. And it's just great. It's this little tiny back and forth, this little thing that's gonna happen every single turn. And your opponent has to be like, okay, well, I could screw you over, but I also would be screwing myself over. So I'm definitely gonna be playing my strategic ploys, which is gonna give you the ability to actually use your strategic ploy and get your dumb extra point. I love it. It's so much fun. And I was talking about Fleet of Foot, this ability that gets you a free dash. Well, all of your guys can also have a free extra inch of movement for the entire game. The Kabalite Elixent. This guy gives your entire army combat drugs, and he gives them to them at the start of the game. So even if this guy dies, they still get those drugs. And there's one that's really, really good. It gives you a 6-up Feel No Pain, which I would like to play with because I love Feel No Pain. I love whenever my opponent deals damage to me, and there's like, I dealt 12 damage to you. What are you gonna do about that? Well, I'm gonna roll 12 dice, and we'll see how much damage you actually did to me. And then it turns out that they did 11 damage instead of 12, and I still die instantly. But that is not probably the best option. They have another drug called Hypex, which gives you a free extra inch of movement on all of your guys. So you move 6 inches naturally. +1 is 7. +3, 10. 10 inches of movement is a possibility for every single operative on your team. That is phenomenal. And what really makes that phenomenal is they have access to probably one of the most powerful guns in the entire game, but it's a little tricky to use unless you have phenomenal movement. The Kabalite Heavy Gunner. They have the Splinter Cannon, which is a very, very good gun. 5 dice hitting on 3s, 3, 5. It is heavy, but it is a ton of dice, very, very good damage, a solid pick. But they also have the Dark Lance. The Dark Lance, 6, 7 damage. That is a one-shot kill gun. The tricky thing about it is it has unwieldy, and unwieldy means it costs 2 actions instead of 1 to use. And your guys only have 2 actions every single turn. So, but if you have 10 inches of movement, 10 inches to run this guy somewhere, a nice spot where he can sit and snipe, and then set him, he might get 3 amazing one-shot kills off every single turn, except for the first turn where you're actually moving him into position. And you have that excellent movement ability. It's a high risk, high reward. It's a really, really interesting thing. And I would never take an unwieldy weapon, but in this kill team with its abilities, I would be very, very tempted to take it. 6, 7. Almost all humans in the game have 7 wounds base, and even the really tough things like orcs and space marines only have like 10 to 12 wounds. You are almost without a doubt going to delete anything you shoot at. It's really, really powerful and really, really tempting. Those are all of the operatives that have me really excited. Every single guy that the Kabbalites can take has lots of wonderful abilities, but those are the ones that really, really have me excited to play with and to play against this kill team. But the team that I plan on actually building and playing with, because I think Nick wants to play these guys, and he can have them, because I want the Arbites. The Exaction Squad kill team. 11 operatives. And unfortunately, you can't necessarily build all 11 operatives that you want out of the main box. You're gonna have to build the Leashmaster and his doggo if you want 11 guys from one single box. These guys are very, very, very good. And I could see, like, if you really are a competitive player or if you really want to win, you might end up, whenever Games Workshop 3 months, 6 months down the line, when they release these guys separately to purchase, which they really should get a move on, because these are available in big 40K too, and I think a lot of people are really looking forward to having them. So Games Workshop, get a move on, get these guys available to purchase, because I kind of want to buy 10 more of these guys. But yeah, out of the box, you can only build 11 operatives if you take the dog, because the sprues come with 10 bodies and the dog, but you can take 11 bodies, which might be better. The dog is okay, but the actual main guys are very, very good. 11 operatives, and their special ability is arguably too good. Every single operative in this kill team has access to Ruthless Efficiency, and this is it's a huge shift from what you're usually allowed to do. So usually in kill team, if you and an opponent are within an inch of each other, if you are within engagement range, if you are in close combat, you are locked in close combat, and your friends can't help. They're not allowed to shoot into that combat and try to help you out. They can charge and fight and try to help you out there, but they're not allowed to shoot. And so tons of people take advantage of this to keep themselves safe. Oh, my Space Marine is in danger of getting shot by maybe your Dark Lance, your incredibly powerful gun. Well, I'm just gonna charge one of your guys, not fight, but you're trapped in close combat with me and you're not allowed to shoot me. But these guys, if they have another operative within 6 inches of that combat, they can just shoot them. And this leads to some really wonky things you can do. Like let's say I'm fighting an orc knob, something super powerful. I probably can't kill him in close combat. Well, this guy is just gonna walk up, charge that orc. And now we're stuck in close combat. I'm gonna have another operative walk up within 6 inches of that close combat and shoot the orc in the back of the head. It's very fun and flavorful and thematic and very, very powerful. I'm really interested to actually play with these guys and see how this works out, because any rule that kind of goes against the core rules is always a little bit like, is this gonna be game breaking? Is this just gonna be a fun little thing that they get to do? It's really, really interesting, but Ruthless Efficiency. And speaking of things that are maybe a little bit too good, maybe a little bit game breaky, they're tactical ops, some of the extra ways that these guys get to score victory points. They have 3 wonderful options, and I would like to say to everybody out there to play the worst one, because 2 of these are so good, I think they might be a little bit too good, and one of them is one of the most beautiful rules I've ever read in my entire life. Contain Threat is attack op 2. I think it's a little bit too good. If all of the enemy operatives are still within 6 inches of their deployment zone, you get a victory point. That's like going to happen. So I feel like that's just not a very good tac. I mean, it's an excellent tac op if you want to get a lot of points, but it's too good. It forces your enemy to have a guy sitting on the very edge of their deployment zone and then sprint away from that deployment zone and then dash away from that deployment zone. And you can still kind of turn that off if you have an enemy within engagement range of that operative. Like, it makes it so hard for your opponent to deny that victory point to you. I don't like that. I think it's a little bit too good. And gather evidence is similarly too easy to pull off. Some of your operatives in your kill team can gather evidence, and you can gather evidence from objectives. So what I would do would be take 2 guys, run them onto objectives, gather evidence, and then just hide them behind rocks all game so that they don't die, and then I get my 2 victory points. It's an easy thing to pull off, but it's super lame. I don't want to just hide my guys behind a rock all game to score victory points. I mean, I should do it if I want to win the game, I guess, but I don't like it. I think everybody who plays Exaction Squad should play the first TAC op, and it's the worst one, but it's the greatest thing. Let me just read it to you. Seize or Incapacitate is the name of it, and I think a better name would have been Dead or Alive, You're Coming With Me. At the start of the game, you pick one enemy, and they're the criminal. And then what you have to do is step 1, kill that criminal, and then step 2, drag away their body. That is the greatest rule I have ever heard. And your opponent knows who the criminal is. And so they're gonna be like, oh God, I gotta hide this criminal. And even when they're dead, I gotta keep their body safe so that you don't come and drag their body away. It's cops and robbers. It's the greatest TAC op of all time. This is gonna be incredibly fun for you and your opponent to play with. Everybody should do Seize or Incapacitate because it is just so much fun. For their strategic ploys, there's none of them super stand out to me. They're all very good. They can all let you do some really fun stuff. They do have an interesting tactical ploy, which is one of those ploys that you play during the turn to help out one guy. And they have a tactical ploy that can be played in the setting up the game phase. And those are always a little bit tricky for me. They always feel a little clunky, a little game breaky, but theirs is specifically clunky and game breaky. Long Arm of the Emperor's Law. You can, if your opponent in the scouting phase, when you pick one of those 3 options, plant the barricade, get to change an order, or get a free dash, you can spend a command point to turn that off for your opponent. Your opponent can't deploy that barricade or do a free dash or change one of their activations. And a pretty big strategy in the game of Kill Team 2 is to start all of your guys in conceal, but then play, being able to change one of the orders so that you can get that one beautiful shot off. And if you can just turn that off, all of a sudden nobody gets to do that. And you're probably always gonna do that. And you get to do it after they've already said what they're gonna do. So if they're just gonna put down a barricade, you can just be like, yeah, I don't care if you put down a barricade. But a free dash or changing your order is a really powerful thing. And just getting to turn that off, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that tactical ploy. I think it might be a little bit, it's not the most amazing thing in the whole world, but it is gonna be really annoying for your opponents. So, especially if they don't plan for it or know it exists. And there's 40 different kill teams. You really can't expect your opponent to know everything about every single kill team out there. And it's gonna feel pretty lame if they had a plan in mind and then you just shut down that plan without warning at all. You should definitely make your opponent aware of this rule before going into the game, because it's a little feel bad, but it is a very good ability. And speaking of really good abilities, Execution Order. So your spotter guy, it's a pretty typical operative in Kill Team. A spotter guy can see a guy who's in conceal and then make your whole kill team think that they're in engage. That particular guy, who does have that ability too, he has a special execution order for 1 CP. He can pick a guy who he can see, not necessarily like somebody who can shoot at, like a visible operative, but anything he can see. If he can see an antenna, a knee, an ass, if he can see any part of that enemy operative, he can say, that guy. Every single guy on my kill team gets to reroll all fights and shoots against that one model. Really good. It might not be crazy against all teams, like Vet Guard with 14 bodies. It's probably not that big a deal if one guy has, a big target on his back. But if you're playing like an elite team or even orcs, picking one guy who's going to die because I'm rerolling all of my attacks against them, it might be a little much. I'll have to play with it and see how it goes. And I think that these guys are going to struggle a little bit to deal tons and tons of damage because almost all of their fighting and shooting is very, very close range, within 6 inches. And I think that's what some of these very good abilities are trying to do, is force your enemy and force you into those close combat scenarios. And close combat meaning like close to, not just punching. Although these guys want to punch, they're not necessarily amazing at punching. But yeah, execution order, I'll have to play with it. I'll have to play with it and see, because it does feel very, very good. Some of their unique abilities are very, very powerful, but the individual operatives are very good, but they are just regular old humans with 7 wounds. And 4-up saves. 4-up saves, not bad, kind of the generic good save. 5-up is kind of typical bad save. 3-up is very good. And some of these guys can actually have 3-up saves, because if they take the shields, they can actually have a 3-up save just normally. I think this, though, is an important thing to bring up. The Arbites Protector Exactant. So he comes with a little floating Aquila friend, and you can either have it built on the guy or on a separate base. Build it on the separate base, because that is a very important token in the game. So for 1 action point, he can deploy that thing near an objective, and it counts as a body that's helping to control that objective, and your opponents can't shoot it down and kill it. So if you could deploy that thing, you want to leave that separate piece near that objective. And all of a sudden, you can really, really kind of control a little bit more of the board. So in terms of constructing these guys, definitely put that little floaty Aquila on its own separate base. The Nuncio Aquila. Keep your eyes out when you're putting these guys together, because that is a very, very special thing. An incredibly fun and flavorful operative is the Arbites Castigator. Now, he's a close combat dude. He has a shotgun. He has a excruciator maul. But really, the ability of this guy is to arrest operatives. And this is the sort of fun, flavorful stuff that I really, really like. And I think it's going to be a little bit tricky to actually use appropriately in game. But for 1 action point, they can arrest enemies. When you're fighting an enemy, if you survive the fight, I guess if both of you guys survive the fight, which will probably maybe happen because this guy isn't amazing in close combat. He does 4/4 damage and stun. It's not like a 5/6 or 5/7 damage like a power claw or something, or a power sword. If you both survive the fight, that enemy operative is now arrested. And as long as you 2 guys are together, or you can also move another operative into close combat and then move the castigator away, that guy is arrested and they can't do anything else for the game but pass, as long as that enemy operative, or as long as your operative is standing there. So what this means is if you're fighting a gene stealer or an orc, anything with less than 10 wounds or 10 wounds or less, that guy is trapped. They are arrested. You put an orc in handcuffs and you're sitting them on the curb waiting for the patrol vehicle to come by so that you can put them in the back and drive them away. Really, really fun, really, really funny. And my goal is to end a game of Kill Team with an operative arrested, because it's just so much fun. I guess you need a lot of handcuffs if you're going to arrest a gene stealer. But imagine just this gene stealer just screaming and thrashing while this guy's just holding him down. It's really, really funny and really, really fun. I almost wish you could do this more, and you sort of can with a little bit of their equipment, but not really. It's gonna be tricky to pull off, but I think it's fine that it's tricky to pull off. Another really silly operative is the Arbites Marksman, the sniper on this kill team. And what's really funny is their sniper is the Executioner Shotgun. Yes, a shotgun sniper. I don't know how that works, but it apparently does. What's kind of great is their shotgun sniper is not overpowered. Games Workshop has had a hard time balancing snipers. Sometimes they're way, way too good. Sometimes they're way, way too bad. This guy does have silent on his weapon. Mortal wounds 3, so it's really only 4/4 damage, which is fine. I think that is very fair and very fine. But the Arbites Marksman has a shotgun sniper. All of their other operatives are pretty typical and pretty good. Another interesting thing to think about when putting this team together is you basically have 2 options for normal guy. You can have Arbites Vigilant and Arbites Subductor. The Subductor has the shield and the sword, and the Vigilator has just a shotgun. You probably want to go with the shotgun, and I could definitely see you wanting to take the normal guys over some of the other characters. I mean, you have 12 options, or you have 11 options available, so you're probably going to slip some of those guys in, but it's tricky. I had a really, really hard time assembling these guys and deciding exactly what I wanted to take. So definitely give every single thing a really, really thorough read And it's probably not a bad idea to take a look at some of the equipment. There's 2 equipments. They have the normal stuff, frag grenades, crack grenades, a stun grenade. That's actually not bad, but a little bit tricky to pull off. But they have shot pistols for 1 equipment point. Any of your guys can take a pretty decent pistol. If you really want a team full of shields and batons, it might not be a bad idea to buy some shot pistols for your guys so that they actually have a shooting weapon. It's only 6 inches of range, but it's not bad. Any of your guys can take the Strobing Phosphor Lumen for 1 equipment point. And this might be you buy this for every single guy on the team. You spend all 10 of your equipment points on 10 glow sticks. Each time an enemy operative is within 6 inches of you and they shoot at you or they fight at you, they can't modify their attack dice. That is really, really big. It's not so good, because often those like really cool reroll things that you can pull off are gonna be long range shooting shots, not close range stuff, but just not having access to those rerolls, not even your command reroll, can definitely save your tiny little human butts a lot. I think that might be you buy it for every single guy. At least that's what I'm gonna try for my first few games. You might not buy it for everybody, because you probably do wanna take a couple of grenades, but man, that is a very powerful ability that is going to be very interesting to play with in-game. Your enemy can't re-roll their dice if they're close to you, and I'm going to be close to you because I need to get right in your face to shotgun you in the face or to hit you with one of my little billy clubs. So that is going to be a really, really interesting equipment to pull off. I was not looking forward to Soulshackle, but after giving both teams a thorough read, I am really, really looking forward to playing with them. And you know what else I'm really looking forward to? That's right, our Patreon. Over there, we make new terrain boards every single month. This month, we have the Goblin Rave Cave, a psychedelic, super modular terrain board perfect for games like Big 40K or Kill Team. We also make 1 extra episode of Eons of Battle every single week, where we take a look at our viewers' miniatures and gives us some ideas or critiques of how to improve their painting. We also host painting guide PDFs, live Discord hangouts, and we have a new tier where you can get your name on one of my Black Templar Space Marines and you can join the Legion. I am really looking forward to both the kill teams in this box. I am very excited to put them all together, and I can't wait to arrest one of Nick's orcs. Thanks for watching.